Welcome to the JetSetter Show, where we explore lifestyle-friendly destinations worldwide. Enjoy and learn from a variety of experts on topics ranging from upscale travel at wholesale prices to retiring overseas, to global real estate and business opportunities, to tax havens and expatriate opportunities. You'll get great ideas on unique cultures, causes, and cruise vacations. Whether you're wealthy or just want to live a wealthy lifestyle, the JetSetter Show is for you. Here's your host, Jason Hartman.
Welcome to the JetSetter Show. This is Jason Hartman, your host, where we explore lifestyle-friendly destinations worldwide. I think you'll enjoy the interview we have for you today, and we will be back with that in less than 60 seconds here on the JetSetter Show.
Now you can get Jason's Creating Wealth in Today's Economy home study course. All the knowledge and education revealed in a 9-hour day of the Creating Wealth Bootcamp, created in a home study course for you to dive into at your convenience. For more details, go to jasonhartman.com.
It's my pleasure to welcome Phyllis Stoller to the show. She is the founder of the Women's Travel Club and has a lot of stories about a lot of interesting adventures and good ideas as far as travel. Phyllis, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So where have you been recently? Tell us about your recent adventure, and then let's get on to some of the special trips that you're offering.
Last night, pretty late, I came back from Cartagena, Colombia, a country that's new to tourism, magnificent scenery, colonial hotels to beat any place in the world, and I highly recommend it.
Excellent. Well, talking to you before we started recording, I was pleased to hear that you felt safe there. I always hear, and it's almost a cliche and a joke, that kidnappings in Colombia are down 72%. But what about the other 28%? I keep asking.
Actually, the Colombian government has made a very big effort to make sure these streets are safe for local citizens as well as tourism. We had no problem whatsoever. We found that people congenial, no pushing, no hassling, no begging, and all in all, a country full of people who feel good about their nation.
That's wonderful to hear. That's wonderful. Now, the Women's Travel Club, you are the founder of that, and I guess you founded that, about 11 years ago, something like that?
Oh, my goodness, 1992.
So 18 years ago. Fantastic. And I guess the challenge you were facing is that you had more vacation than your husband, and were looking for a way to travel and do things, and give us a little bit of the background on it, if you would.
The Women's Travel Club was born out of the fact that Phyllis Stoller had lived overseas, moved back to Miami, Florida, which was in a small town. I had 5.5 weeks vacation as a corporate banker, and my husband had 2. And I so missed traveling. I looked for friends. This was the attitude in 1991-92. I don't go without my husband. I have to ask my husband for permission. Well, I got fed up with that. And after a certain period of time, when my kids were a little bit older, I founded the Women's Travel Club, originally as a company that would facilitate women like me, married or single, young or old, to travel with other women just for the fun of it. It started as a hobby, it grew into a national company, and it was actually acquired in 2006.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on the sale, and it sounds like you are pleased with the buyers because you're still with them and promoting them, and it sounds like they're doing some great things. And I've got to just comment on that, Phyllis. Really, people listening need to not wait for everybody else in their life to make their travel plans. I used to do that, and I tell you, I've missed out on so many opportunities because of it. Trying to get friends together and rally them all to go somewhere and agree on a place and agree on the plans and the itinerary and so forth. And sometimes when I just go alone, I have such a great time and I meet more people, because when you're traveling solo, you're kind of forced to get out of your box a little bit, aren't you?
Well, men are very different from women. Women like the schmooze factor.
The schmooze factor,
Women like to travel in a group. I call it the schmooze factor.
All right.
Women like to travel in a group. Women like to share their reaction to a painting on a wall, or a tribal group of locals on a mountainside, or how the picture came out, or the recipe for the fish that they're having for lunch. women like to share information. And the beauty of the Women's Travel Club was that we began to attract women from all different backgrounds, all different cities, who love to travel, and we organize group trips for them.
That's a great distinction, and I'm sorry I didn't make that.
No, it's all group travel for women who sign up individually, or maybe with a friend, or maybe with a daughter, and they are able to travel to a destination, not be alone, and have everything planned out for them.
Right. That's excellent. And sometimes when I say I'm traveling solo, I am doing it with a group, so I should just clarify that. And that's a great thing. So you're finding women with common interest in travel. Is there a typical size of the group that's traveling to these locations?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, we take groups anywhere from 8 to middle 20s. We just had a group in Egypt. I think it was 26. 27. We don't usually take that many. We had women knocking down the door to get on the trip. It was well organized. It was a terrific price. And so we ended up, it's hard to turn people away when they call you every day and say, has there been a cancellation? I think we had 27 on that, but the average size group is somewhere in the 15.
Fantastic. And what do you do differently in terms of maybe the itinerary, the accommodations, pricing, any methodology that makes it unique?
The itineraries tend to be a little more in-depth. I'm going to focus, like we have a Paris itinerary coming up. We call it Paris for the second-time visitor. There's a lot of interest in France right now because the euro is lower and people feel they can afford it again. So we look for a hotel that's at least 4-star, could be 5, has to be a good neighborhood for women. Women do not want to walk out of the hotel and be concerned. Then we look for an itinerary that will include things that you might not do by yourself. That might be a tour of the Paris Opera House. That might be ice cream at the best ice cream place on the Ile Saint-Louis. It might be a visit to the Orangerie in the case of this trip, which is where Monet's water lilies are and has just been reopened the last few years. So we try to include places that are not on the plain vanilla trip. It's important that the hotel be centrally located, totally safe, not too gigantic, and that the meals be in nice restaurants.
Fantastic. And tell us about some of the trips that you're really promoting at this time and what is interesting about them.
Well, first of all, they're all on our website, womenstravelclub.com, and it's WOMENS, travelclub.com. We post on the front page some of the upcoming trips, but there's a full calendar of other trips behind it. The first one on this is called Ixtapan Spa, which is in Mexico. Why do we promote that spa? It's very affordable. It's very up to the standards of American women. It's relaxed exercise, so nobody's going to get hurt, but you will get plenty of walking and salsa aerobics and all of that. The food is healthy, safe, and clean, and so is the area. So that's why we promote that particular resort, and it's spelled Ixtapan. The next one on this list is a Lisbon long weekend. I know you guys are in California, but for people on the East Coast, this is a 5-hour flight to a fantastic European city that many Americans have not been to. So we picked it because the duration of the flight, our buying power is very strong because of our parent company, and yes, we like them, and because very few Americans have been to Lisbon, and quite honestly, it's more fabulous than Barcelona, and everybody seems to be running to Barcelona these days. So those are 2 of them. We also do trips to Egypt, China. We have one called Flavors of Tuscany, which is for a foodie's delight all over Tuscany, where, by the way, we have an office, and you're experiencing sights and scenes and food. You wanted me to mention Ecuador and the Galapagos.
Yes.
We don't do a lot of cruises on our site. However, we have this one, and we have another one called Voyages to Antiquity. We include them because we have somebody who specializes in that area. And we believe if you're going to the Galapagos, you shouldn't miss the mainland of Ecuador. It's also colonial, it's Andean. You're probably going to see a llama or a herd of llamas. You're going to the largest Indian market in South America, and the price for that type of a trip is quite affordable. And then the other cruise on here is Voyages to Antiquity, and I just saw a typo on our website, and we included that because these are 16-day trips with lecturers, very interesting archaeological stops, and for our company, we have no single supplement.
That is really a huge benefit, so people can have their own stateroom and not pay that single supplement, huh?
Right. Exactly right. And that's a special deal that we got from the cruise line, again, because of our parent company who do a lot of business with them, and we wanted our members to experience something like this. We feel that a cultural cruise with lectures is friendlier to women traveling alone than a huge ship that doesn't have something intimate like a lecture.
What is going on really with the cruise industry nowadays? Since you brought up the cruises, I mean, the deals out there are pretty phenomenal, aren't they?
The deals are phenomenal, but not for women traveling alone or for anybody traveling alone, because the cruise ships have cut their rates and they make all their money on the extras. So, if one person in a cabin, they're not going to make money on 2 drinks, 2 excursions, 2 spa treatments. So it's really quite penal to women traveling alone. And very few of them have anything like a captain's table, so that if, let's say, I'm traveling alone, my husband can't go, a table where I can go sit with other people who are traveling alone. Almost none of them have that.
Right. I've noticed, though, some of the cruise lines are really adapting. I just saw something about a new ship and how it's got the freestyle dining, and that was maybe, I can't remember, but I was really impressed with some of the things they're really doing to sort of modernize and be more single-friendly. If you can believe it, they said they had smaller staterooms.
That's the Epic. It's a Norwegian ship, and we have that promoted on our travel calendar. And the reason they're promoting it is because they've built a special ship with single cabins, but there's still a single supplement charge.
There is, huh? Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately there is.
That looks like quite a glorious ship, though, I must say.
Oh, it looks wonderful. That's why we're promoting it.
Right. Fantastic. Boy, you've got just a lot of great stuff on here. Anything you want to recommend or mention, maybe destinations you've been to before that you really liked and what you liked about them?
Well, I love Paris, which is why I put it on here. I love Morocco. I think if you've never done a trip to a non-European country, this is the one to start with. It's extremely exotic, but the flight is short, 5 hours. The hotels are fantastic. A lot of people love Moroccan food, and it's something that you wouldn't want to do as a woman alone, so you should go with a group. Now, our Morocco trip is at the very end of May, and we've included, besides the traditional sites, 2 nights deep in the desert at a hotel that looks like the French Foreign Legion.
Oh, how interesting. Yeah.
That has a night market and all of that. So I love Morocco, especially if you have never been to a non-European destination and you want to stick your toe in that water.
I've been to Marrakesh before. I've not been to Casablanca. Where in Morocco? Tell us about the itinerary.
I'm actually avoiding Casablanca. It's a very big city, and I did not find it. It's a business city. So the way we avoid it is everybody flies into Casablanca, but we continue on so that our first night is in Rabat. And in Rabat, which is it's the capital of the country, not the business center, there's a lot to see. So since you get in at 6 in the morning, what's the point of spending the night in Casablanca? You just push on to Rabat. We go to Volubilis, which was the most distant Roman outpost in the Roman Empire. You know the lions that fought in the Colosseum? They came from this area.
Oh, did they really? Wow.
Yeah, from the Volubilis area. We go to Meknes and Fez, which are amazing ancient religious centers. Fez, of course, is a UNESCO heritage site, 1,200 years old. Then we continue to Marrakesh, and from Marrakesh we go to Ouarzazate, which is deep in the desert, but we stay in a wonderful place. Some of the most beautiful fortified towns and mountain, not monasteries, but mountain religious buildings are in that part of the desert, and most Americans don't take that next jump off from Marrakesh. Did you?
I only toured around a little bit, just a day trip, and frankly, I can't remember where I went. But several people in my group went on to much broader excursions that were multiple days. I actually flew over to Portugal afterwards. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Right, yeah.
That's interesting. So you saw the Moors before and after.
I did. and I wanted to comment when you mentioned Portugal before, because it was so inexpensive. And I mean, that was back when the euro was higher. It was still very, very reasonably priced.
Portugal is very reasonable. The shopping, the leather is fantastic. The bakeries are to die for. The plazas with the tiled fountains.
Right.
A castle on top of a mountain overlooking the city. I mean, it's got everything, and Americans don't put it in their radar.
Any particular reason why that is? It just doesn't seem to have the fame that Spain and Italy do.
Well, maybe we're a London, Paris, Rome training, from the old days, and when that's where people went. It's a smaller country. Maybe we don't have as many people of Portuguese descent as we have of English descent. But I think we were trained London, Paris, Rome, and then people, went to Athens maybe, and they went to Spain. But this has everything, and for less.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Let me take a brief pause. We'll be back in just a minute.
What's great about the shows you'll find on jasonhartman.com is that if you want to learn about investing in and managing income properties for college students, there's a show for that. If you want to learn how to get noticed online and in social media, there's a show for that. If you want to know how to save on life's largest expense, there's a show for that. And if you'd like to know about America's crime of the century, there's even a show for that. Yep, there's a show for just about anything. Only from jasonhartman.com. Or type in Jason Hartman in the iTunes store.
Any other destinations that you particularly like? I know Paris is right up there on your list.
Well, it is for this year, because this year, there are deals. The euro is lower. Let me think. Well, I love Mexico. I must put in a word for Mexico. And this Ixtapan Spa is in the colonial part of Mexico. It's an hour from Tasco, an hour and a half from Cuernavaca. And these are areas that are completely safe, quite inexpensive, and as gorgeous as any Spanish town, with the adobe buildings and cascading bougainvillea and 18 million silver shops. I love Mexico. I love Mexican food. And, hey, Jason, it's right around the corner for you guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are getting concerned. I mean, they're still visiting Mexico, but with the drug lords and the drug cartels and that kind of stuff, I don't know. I don't have any stats on what that's done to their tourism, but I'm sure it can't be good, right?
Well, it's hurt tourism along the border. I mean, most of the trouble is along the American border, because guess who the market is for all that junk? It's us. So along the border, a magnificent town like, I'm going to forget the name right now, Monterrey, would be having problems because it's too close to where there are troubles. In the colonial areas, you have these beautiful little towns you can walk around and all you get is a smile. So in those areas, it's a very different atmosphere. Ixtapan Spa is it's in a 19th century spa town. You can walk around that town and shop, and you have a hard time finding the vendors. They got all their stuff out on the street, and you could walk away with their things, and they're so honest you can't find them. Somebody will go running down the street looking for Jose, who's selling an embroidered dress.
That's so funny. I'm amazed.
It's very fun. It's such a different. The reality is so different from the news.
Sure, yeah. It always is. Does the Women's Travel Club venture into Russia, Eastern Europe? We've talked a lot about Western. I'm sure you do Scandinavia, right?
Sure. We do trips to Budapest and Prague. We change our trips every year. We add, we subtract. We go to Turkey, Budapest and Prague I mentioned. We're going to Buenos Aires and Rio in the summer because it's switched. Our winter is their summer, vice versa. We go to Peru again in the summer for the same reason. We're doing South Africa next August. We don't have the price up yet for that. We go to Thailand. We do very well with China. We have groups going to China 3 times a year. China is quite inexpensive. I mean, I'm looking at our China Highlights trip in October. It's air from New York or California, 4- and 5-star hotels, many meals, 7 nights there, going to Beijing, Shanghai, and Xi'an. It's $21.99 with air from JFK.
That is incredibly reasonable. Wow.
And all sightseeing every day, all day.
Unbelievable. That is fantastic. I don't think China's on enough people's list, really, is it?
Well, I would suggest it get on your list because right now the currency is 6 to 1, but world market prices, it should be 3 to 1, which means that all trips would double in price or more if China ever revalued its currency.
Right. They're suppressing it. Everybody accuses them of artificially suppressing their currency to increase exports.
Well, they do, and that keeps the price of a China trip very low. As soon as things would change, those trips are going to go through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, South Africa, I think that was one of my best trips ever. I really just loved South Africa. Cape Town is got to be one of the three most beautiful places on this entire planet. And then the safari, of course, is an adventure everyone needs to have once in a lifetime at least. Any thoughts on South Africa?
Make sure you go the right season. Most people base themselves in Cape Town, as you mentioned, because, Cape Town's one of the places in the world that you want to visit. One of the most beautiful. I would put Paris, Cape Town, Hong Kong, Rio, certain places that are iconic
Sure.
for scenery. You want to stay in pretty good hotels. You want to go with somebody who knows how to organize the trip so that you're in the right neighborhoods in those hotels. And don't miss some of the newer sites, like the Robben Island Prison, the Malay section, which is the Asian section of Cape Town. There are some places that people miss, which they really shouldn't. And do a safari. It's a hoot. Even for non-animal crazed people,
right.
They'll come away thinking, "Oh my God, I can't believe I waited all this time to do it."
It's pretty neat.
Flights are good from the States. South African Airways has good, solid coverage, and so do it. But again, check the season, because their summer is our winter, and vice versa. And you really don't want to be there when it's 30 or when it's 95.
Sure, absolutely. And I tell you, that Robben Island Prison, I did get to visit that, and that was quite a moving experience. It really was. Phyllis, before we let you go, and I want you to give out the website once again, but can you give us maybe any just general travel tips that you have? Upgrades, customs, getting through things faster, packing light. You've got quite a bit of travel experience, and I just thought I'd ask anything in general that you might want to talk about.
Well, gosh, that's a big menu, Jason. Packing light. I am not an advocate of carrying everything on a plane, frankly. I'm an advocate of checking things through.
Right. Then you don't have to worry too much.
Packing
right?
light.
Yeah.
It's not a fashion show. Travel is not a fashion show. And whatever you do, make sure you can carry that suitcase at least a block, just in case you can't get any help, or the terminal changes last minute on your airline, or the schedule changes and you're running to another gate and you haven't checked in yet. Upgrades, very difficult in today's environment. Please be nice to airline staff, especially during holiday season. You wanted an upgrade. You're the last one on the list who didn't get it. It's not their fault.
Right.
Be nice to them.
Yeah, sure.
They're going to be pushed around a lot by a lot of people over the next few weeks. The best way to get an upgrade is obviously to be a frequent flyer on that airline and be very nice to the staff when you get there.
Good points.
And I'll make one other point. When you check the little upgrade boxes when you're flying, sometimes you have the option when you book online to check, "I want an upgrade if available." Print that out and bring it with you to the airport.
Oh, good tip. Yeah, very good tip.
Check-in staff cannot see that you printed it and cannot see that you checked it.
Well, excellent. Give out the website one more time, if you would.
It's womenstravelclub.com, WOMENSTRAVELCLUB.com.
Excellent. Well, Phyllis, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. We really appreciate having you on the show and hearing more about the Women's Travel Club.
Thank you, Jason.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sometimes I think of Jason Hartman as a walking encyclopedia on the subject of creating wealth.
Well, you're probably not far off from the truth, Penny, because Jason actually has a 3-book set on creating wealth that comes with 60 digital download audios.
Yes, Jason has that unique ability to make you understand investing the way it should be. It's a world where anything less than 26% annual return is disappointing.
I love how he actually shows us how we can be excited about these scary times and exploit the incredible opportunities this present economy has afforded us.
We can pick local markets untouched by the economic downturn, exploit packaged commodities investing, and achieve exceptional returns safely and securely.
I also like how he teaches you to protect the equity in your home before it disappears and how to outsource your debt obligations to the government.
And the entire set of advanced strategies for wealth creation is being offered at a savings of $94.
That's right, and to get your Creating Wealth Encyclopedia series, complete with over 60 hours of audio and 3 books, just go to jasonhartman.com/store.
If you want to be able to sit back and collect checks every month, just like a banker, Jason's Creating Wealth Encyclopedia series is for you. This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company, all rights reserved. For distribution or publication rights and media interviews, please visit www.hartmanmedia.com or email media@hartmanmedia.com. Nothing on this show should be considered specific personal or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and the host is acting on behalf of Platinum Properties Investor Network, Inc. exclusively.